Hello. Hola. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be working on something different today, something we haven't done in a while. This is Lena with especially made for me. And we're going to be working on some bows, making bows. And I want to make sure we just switched, did some, I guess, changes with our internet and did some testing earlier, some quick little lives that I made private just so to make sure. But please let me know if there's any flickering or any kind of glitching going on, if you can't hear me, see me, whatever the case may be, just so that I can make sure that we can adjust things if we're able, so that you can see me and hear me properly. So according to YouTube, from what I can see here on the studio, as they call it, we do have excellent connection, but it did tell us that before, and there was some flickering going on. So just want to make sure. So just by way of comment, just let me know, and we'll go from there. So if you are here joining me live, or even after doing a replay, do let me know in the comments. Let me know your name if you're here with me, just so that I know you're out there. If you're okay with sharing where you're watching from, then let me know that as well. It doesn't have to be the exact location, even just the state is enough. Or if you want to do city and state, that works as well. Just wanted to kind of see where you're joining from, just so I can get an idea of where everybody's at. From what I can tell, there's about 4 viewers right now, so we'll see. So thank you for joining and welcome. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Normally what I do when it comes to bows, which has been a little bit since I've done a bow tutorial specifically. Normally I would do a bow if I'm doing a wreath or a swag or something. I will make a bow and I make sure that I break up how I make those, whether I do some by hand or use any kind of tools to make it. This time I want to concentrate just on making a bow, making a couple of different types of bows, and actually using a tool that I like to use to make bigger bows, so that I can show you also how to use this tool, this specific one. There's a couple of ones that I use, but I want to use do one on the Pro Bow the hand. I love it, and the lady that makes these, I just absolutely love her. She's just very detailed on how she does the instruction videos, and even the fluffing, which is like, I guess, how I can relate to her because of the fluffing of the bows. I'm constantly trying to do stuff with the bows. But Pro Bow the hand is a tool. She calls it a machine that basically helps you have an extra set of hands, which is I guess that's how she came up with the name for the tool. So I have it here on my craft table, and I already have what we call the fingers put on, so I'm going to show you all of that. And we're going to use a variety of different bows, because the bows would vary, or not bows, the ribbons, sorry, would vary depending on the bow that you want to make, and how many ribbons, of course, and all of that. So we're going to play a little bit to make a couple of different types of bows, and using different ribbons, and that way you can get an idea. And then you could play with, if you decide to get one, you could get the smaller one. I have I think the biggest one that she actually sells, just because I like making real big bows, and that way I can make, small, big, and it doesn't matter. I can use the same tool to do either either type of bow, including those big huge ones for like you could put on top of a car. So I'm going to change the view of the camera just so that you can see what I'm talking about, and we're going to go from there. So I'm going to do my usual multiple view, so you should still see me on to the corner, on the side top corner of your screen, and then you should have a top view of my craft table. So I am going to make sure that I have my keyboard moved out of the way, and we're gonna pretty much just get started right away. Let me make sure I turn off my mouse so I won't do anything crazy. And we learned a couple of videos ago, I think, can't remember exactly, the word for mouse, our mouse, ratón. in Spanish. So I wanted to make sure I kind of did a review on that raton. And then for our arts and crafts room, when we do crafty things by hand, it's manualidades. So that's what we'll be doing today. Manualidades. We are making bows, which is cintas in Spanish. And we're gonna just kind of play. Kind of move some things out of the way. Let me make sure my phone doesn't fall off the off the table. I want to show you some ribbons. Now, for one of the bows we'll be making, you can switch the ribbon based on what you want your bow to look like. So we're going to do that here today. I'm going to use 3 of the same ribbon. This is a 2.5-inch ribbon. Put those to the side. And these are 10-yard rolls. And let's see, what else can I tell you about these? Because these, this material, and I should have read that. Let me put my glasses on. It's not a regular type ribbon, if I can say it that way. It's not your usual satin or canvas, or let me grab this one that's already open. And it's not mesh, but it's almost like it's plastic. It reminds me of, and maybe our Hispanic folks from Latin America folks might know what I'm talking about here, because I know my mom would get these bags that I remember. They even have the same colors, and they're kind of plastic, but you can they're very, very hefty. You can pull them pretty much any kind of way. They're still wired, which I love, because then you can shape even better. And I'm not sure what those bags are called, but it seems to me it's the same kind of material. So for my my Hispanic folks that are on the same boat with me with the Spanglish, I can't think of what that bag is, but it's a huge tote bag. And if you're out there watching and you're you know which bags I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments, because I can't think of the, the name right now. But that's basically what this material is, just a lot thicker. So we're going to be using this this ribbon, and again it is wired, and we're going to be using 3 of the rolls. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to make a large bow, and I want basically just these 3 colors to be in the bow. Now, you can, for this type of bow that I'm going to be making, you can use 3 different types of ribbon and then mix the colors, so that you can have a mixture of colors and mixture of patterns. If you're not familiar with it, I do have some in my shop. I did some for Valentine's and St. Patrick's Day and Christmas last year. And I do still have some on there. So you can look at, if you want to have some better ideas, you can look at those there, because I've used different kinds of ribbon. And even though I used some of the same colors, there were different patterns. So you can do that based on what theme you're looking for, if you want to have a variety of the ribbons or the colors and so on. So right now what I'm doing is just putting my rolls of ribbon. This actually you can get with a kit for Pro Bow the Hand to be able to have your rolls of ribbon. And you can also get an extra one, which I'm thinking of doing myself, just because for that other bigger bow that I had mentioned, it is best to have the, more than the 3 rolls. So more like 6 rolls of ribbon. So for this, you're going to need, if you don't already have one, you're going to need a Pro Bow the Hand. And again, there's different sizes. You don't have to have this huge one. I just happen to like it because I know I can get more for my buck, I guess, if I can say it that way. And be able to make any kind of bows that I want and use any kind of ribbons. Now, you can use the 2.5. You can use the 1.5 or the 1 inch. So there's really no limit. You could even use smaller ribbons depending if you're going of the bow that you want to make. And then just move the fingers based on, these are the fingers, by the way. That's what I'm talking about. And they go in these holes depending on the size of bow you want to make. So that's what, but basically what this comes in. And you will place these, your little extra fingers, because that's what it is basically, pro bow the hand. It gives you an extra hand or two based on the bow that you're going to be making. And if you make bows a lot, hi Miss Monica. And if you make bows a lot, you will kind of know after a while, if you make a lot of them at one time, your hand starts hurting, or you may need to kind of put something else on top of it to kind of hold it in place and whatnot. So that's where this comes into play. That way basically you could do everything and your hands are pretty much free, because your fingers basically are these little these little pegs that you can put on here. So you're going to need a pro bow of the hand if you want to do the same, use the same tool. You don't have to, of course. This is just a way to, another way to show you. And I do have those other videos out there where you can make the bows without having any kind of special tools for making them. So if you don't have any kind of tool or equipment to make a bow, I would definitely recommend watching some of those videos so you can know how to make them by hand without having any extra tools or anything. Just your ribbon and your scissors, basically. So for this, we're going to need also some wire, floral wire. This one is 26 gauge and it is 18 inches long. Now you can get the actual roll of it and then cut it to size. You're definitely welcome to do that. I just for this purpose, I kind of like it already having done for me. Makes it a little bit easier. So you're going to need one of these to kind of wrap around. And then for the first bow that we're going to make, we are going to need again the 3 rolls, and you could vary. You could do the rolls the same scheme, different colors, mix and match, different patterns. It's entirely up to you. For this first one, I'm going to do all in the same material. So once you have them positioned here, make sure that they're all going outward the same way towards the right. And what you're going to do is basically just let them roll and get all of your ends together. Like so. Alrighty. Miss Monica, I saw that the signs have arrived. Thank you so much for giving me a review. Glad you liked them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just scrunch. Let me see, making sure that you can see here on the video. Let me move forward a little bit. So we're going to just scrunch our end here, just to make it a little bit easier. I don't like folding it. It actually makes a difference, I've noticed, on how the ribbon will shape up. So we're just kind of gathering it there together. And then about the middle of the wire is what we want. I'm going to try to kind of sort of center it. Doesn't have to be exact, but we can try, right? And we're just going to wrap this wire around to tighten this section, maybe about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in. And I'll show you that in a second. Now normally you can do just one. I kind of like wrapping a little bit of both just to make sure. So it should look like this once you're done. Ah, good. Glad you like them. If you can, share the pictures of what you make with them. I would love to see it. Okay, so once we have that together, you're just basically going to pull on your ribbon, and we're going to go to where we have our main finger. This is where we're going to actually be using it as our guide, and we're going to go to this middle one straight on up. So you're just going to wrap it around just like so. And your top one, you're going to wrap around your top, and you go towards the right. And I'm trying to do it with the left so that way you can see it hopefully a little bit better. And then when you get to the end, just kind of twist the end of that wire to the top. Let's see if I can change. Maybe I can. Let me see if it'll let me do it on this. I want to make sure that you can. I'm going to try and zoom. Let's see if I can do this while we're on live here. Don't mind me. Just want to make sure that you can see a little bit better. And then I'll reposition. Let's see if that's a little bit better, and I'll just move things around. Okay, let's see, do I need to move more that way? There we go. Haha. Oops. Didn't want to move the whole thing. This board, the Pro Bowl the hand, it's actually a little bit heavy, but it does stay put. It's got these Velcro things on the bottom, so it pretty much grabs a hold, which it's actually kind of handy. Alrighty, so hopefully you can see that little bit right there. And then on this other wire, because we're just going to wrap this around, I'll move these out of the way for now. This other wire we're just going to wrap around. It's got a little nail down here. Let me take my other hand. It's down here on this side, right in the front. And we're just going to wrap it once around that little nail and then just tuck it under so it'll be out of your way. That's all it is. Okay? And this we're just going to hold in place. And it becomes basically where we're going to be meeting with all of our turns that you're going to be seeing here in a second. So this is one finger and it's just holding everything in place. It doesn't have to be tight. And what we're going to do, we're going to go right here to where this is where we're going to always meet when we do our turns. And what I like to do is just kind of turn it sideways. It may not make sense, but it works. You kind of turn it sideways and just kind of pinch it there in place and give it that half a twist. And then we're going to go and do the same thing to the next finger. Okay? And we're going to come back and do the same thing. We're going to use that as our guide so we can stay in that middle. And you gather. Give it your twist and see everything is staying. Nothing is twisting. And let's see if I can move that even further. This is going to fall. Whoops. Sorry about that. I want to make sure you can see what I'm talking about with the ribbons. I don't know that you can see that other than on the corner. This here, see, it's not twisting. So if we do it that way, it doesn't twist our ribbon where this gets all discombobulated. So that's why the little roll thing comes in handy. And doing that half twist that I've been doing, it helps with keeping it from doing that whole tangle. So we're going to do our twist again. Hold it in place. And we're just going to keep on pulling for our ribbon and go to the next finger. Now I mentioned earlier this one is actually, this ribbon is a very thick ribbon. So you normally wouldn't have all of this to do here. I'm just doing it because it's a much thicker ribbon, but you would normally not use this thick of a ribbon for this. And I really should have, to be honest, should have thought of using a different ribbon just because for instructional purposes I don't want it to be a difficult one to show you once we start doing the fluffing. And then with the wire we may need an extra wire, so I'm going to show that. Let's see, I think it'll be long enough, but what I'm going to do here, just so I can show you in case that happens to you, I'm going to try to pull this in a little bit so I can get another wire. And let's move it back so you can see everything that I'm doing. So normally for a thicker ribbon, it takes on a lot more, not a lot more, just an extra wire, because it takes a little bit more space, of course. So for safety, just to make sure it doesn't unravel, you could actually tuck in another wire while it's already in position. You just tuck it under. If you feel that your wire may not be long enough or just want to give it a little bit more of a strength for when you're folding, and me go the other way so you can just notice you're not able to see. I'm trying to look at the actual screen. Okay, so when you do this, just kind of stay on the right hand side, because remember we kind of twisted to the right hand side. And what we're doing here is just basically making sure we tighten that. We're going to go down with one and up with the other, and then just twist it. Much like if you do the wreaths and you've done the other videos with me, kind of like when we do those the stems and we do some twisting, it's basically the same idea. So we're just doing that just to give it more stability, to make sure it doesn't unravel with it being a shorter wire, because this one that we tucked in at first is much shorter now because we're kind of building on top of it. So okay, doing the same thing, just kind of scrunching, doing that half twist. Now you can hold it here if you want to, and then go to that next finger, and we're just repeating again, doing the same thing. And what I like with this is that I don't necessarily have to hold anything, and it stays put. Just like I did earlier when I was putting that extra wire. That's why it comes in handy when you make ribbons. Okay, now on this last one, depending if you're going to make a big tail, long tail, short tail, that went my Spanglish, you can decide the length of it from here. You can cut straight from where you have your ribbons at. This one, it's actually the same on both sides, so you don't have to be too concerned with the twist, you know, to kind of make sure that it's facing in the right direction. It is entirely up to you. This is basically the bottom of your bow, so if you kind of keep that in mind, depending on for what you're going to be working on and how you want your tails to go, then that's the one thing that I would suggest. Just kind of think of this as the bottom of your bow, because once we open it and fluff it, your loops basically are up here on top. So this is your bottom. Okay, so I am going to give it a little scrunch, and I'm going to bring that first one that we put towards the bottom, get it from the nail, and bring that one up. And then this one, when we did the little twist up here, we're going to grab that and untwist it, and then bring that one down, just like when we did that additional wire, and we're just going to twist it on here. Okay, don't have to over twist or do anything. And then you're just going to lift, and this is going to end up being your bow. That always happens to me. I guess I make it a little too tight. So again, this will be the top of your bow, and see the bottom part that we had towards us ends up being our bottom. So you can use a, let's see if I can move this a little bit, so I want to make sure you can see. There is something called a fluff box. Let me get mine. Oops. You can use a fluff box or not use a fluff box. It is entirely up to you. I am going to change the view of the camera here in a sec, but I want to show you the cutting of your tail. So you have your bow like so, and your ribbon is hanging this way. So depending on how long you want your tail to be, you can cut from right from here. So if you just want a short tail or a medium-sized tail or longer tail, it's entirely up to you. Normally, I like mine with a pretty long tail for when I make these batik style ones, the large ones. But I cut right here and I automatically do my dovetail. So I'm just folding it, and I'm going to cut towards the outer edge. And now I automatically have my dovetail, and it's just cut, and it won't matter if I'm going to make another bow, because this gets scrunched in and then you put the wire on it, so that it won't matter. Okay, I already have my dovetail for all three tails, and you can either, you know, I like showing doing things by hand, so you can either fluff from here and just kind of start taking the loops out and just spread them out to fluff it, or you can use the fluff box. Today, since I'm using the Pro Bow the hand and I'm not showing everything by hand, I'm going to actually use the fluff box so you can see how that works and how helpful that can be. So that being said, I'm going to try and see if if I can change the view again, so I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. So I hope you're okay with me constantly going in to change the the camera itself, because I want to make sure that you can see what how it all looks. Let's see. So I'm going to unzoom it just so that you can see the top of the table. I hope he's trying to help me here. I'm gonna still use it though. He's trying to help me, y'all. Okay. Hopefully we can see that a little bit better. And then we'll bring that Pro Bow the hand back for that other bow. Okay, so here on the Pro Bow the hand, we have a little hook. Let me go ahead and, not Pro Bow the hand, our fluff box. And hopefully you can see that. There's like a little hook on here that we're going to hook the bow to with the wire. And then we have a little nail here, basically just like our Pro Bow the hand, where we actually twisted it and put the wire under. That's what this is for, so that we can secure our bow while we do the fluffing and use our hands. So, comes in handy for, you know, when you don't have an extra set of hands helping, right? So we're going to just wrap on that hook, and then if your wire is long enough, you can wrap it on that nail. I don't always have to, because I can tuck my tail for the bow right on under. So it'll look like so. So it doesn't look like a whole lot, does it? I like starting with the bottom. So we're going to start there, and you just basically pull your loops and stretch them out. Put them where you want them. So you don't have to be afraid. They're wired ribbons, and you just kind of go with it. You can twist this and do, if you want to do one side at a time. Doesn't hurt anything. Just pull and twist, and then position those where you want them. Now if you have different colors, you may want to, you know, kind of consider that as to where you're placing your loops. It looks like it's coming out of my little hook. I just saw it lifting, but it's still in place. Okay, and you can continue doing that until you have all your loops where you want them. Or as I do, I just kind of spread them out and then I do some more fluffing, because it's never quite exactly where I want it until I'm completely done. But this helps with stretching it all out, and you know, since again it's an extra set of hands, without actually having someone there helping. Okay, so you can see the bow coming together, and then again you just position your loops where you want them. If you want to spread them out some more, if you want it to be more rounded, and so on. And see, I just keep on fluffing it, and it's just fine. Doesn't need a whole lot. Okay, I'm gonna stop. So then you have your tails, and you can do the same thing if you want them to be split up, and then you just unhook. If I can see. I think I did an extra twist and didn't even realize it. There it goes. Okay. And now we have our bow and our tails. And you can shape them up if you want them to be more curled. If you want one towards the side and one towards the middle, since they're wired, again, you can just tug. Ah, thank you. And what I like is that you can do this for pretty much any holiday, any type of festivity, and just kind of mix and match your colors, or already get your ribbons in different colors and patterns, and you won't have to worry about, you know, getting the colors to kind of split up, you know, in a certain way. But I find that even when they're not exactly scattered, you know, staggered, it still works. So this is one way of making a boutique style bow. This is considered a large bow. And you can do it again for anything, whether it's, you know, now Patriotic or Mother's Day or summer, spring, or Christmas and whatnot. It works and it makes it easy. Now you can also do this by hand. Again, it just takes a little bit more work because you do need, almost like you need an extra set of hands, just like you saw with the Pro Bow, the hand, to be able to position the loops the way you would need it. But you can definitely do it by hand as well. I just wanted to show how it works with the Pro Bow, the hand, because it definitely does make it a little bit easier. So that's one. You would need, again, 3 different rolls of ribbon. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna move that out of the way for now. My hubby can come and bring the Pro Bow, the hand, again. Hopefully he's still watching. And then let me know if any questions as I go ahead and put these up. Please, sir. And then I'm going to show you a smaller one. It's not that much smaller, but it won't have as big of a tail. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much. And then you can actually do that one with just one. Now you can see, with, even though I used the 3 different rolls, I didn't use the full roll. So depending on how big your roll, this is a 10-yard roll. So you probably can get at least 3 of these bows with the 3 rolls. So don't let that scare you if you're kind of looking at, we're using 3 rolls of ribbon, because you don't get to use the full roll to make that. So we're going to move on to our next type of bow. And all it takes, I'm going to just move a couple of fingers here and move these down because it's going to be a little bit smaller. And let's see, we have red with the stars, which we're kind of staying with the patriotic theme, and we have the blue. So we can do one of each, and that way we can do it twice, and we can make sure we have the process together. All right, so same thing for our ribbon. We want to make sure that it's going outwards. Hopefully you can see that on the corner. We're going to still gather the ribbon at the end. And you can twist it, you know, if you need to, depending on how you need to grab it to do the wire. As long as you put it correctly on here, it doesn't really make a difference. Find your middle if you need to. You could even measure if you want to make sure it's right at the middle. Makes it easier for fluffing time if you're going to use that box like I did earlier. Okay. And once we wrap that ribbon, just make sure it's nice and snug, or the wire rather. I'm a little bit off. Okay, so we're gonna just grab it, go around that first finger in the middle, and make sure that wherever we have that wire is what's in the middle of our main finger. And don't go up too high or too low, try to stick right in the middle. So for this one that's coming up, this wire, we're going to go towards the right around the top of that finger, and just wrap it around. And when you get to the end, just so it'll make it easier for you to find it when we're done, I kind of tuck it on top of, just kind of fold it a little bit on top of that main finger. And then grab your other wire, and we're going to go towards that nail. Just wrap around once and tuck it under the pro bowl, the hand. And that is pretty much it. You can even let it go. It won't go anywhere. That's why I like it. Because I don't have to worry too much. It's like, oh, I let it go. It's gone all over the place. I got to start over. So it stays put when we do it that way. So same process. We're just going to go kind of sideways to do a little twist. You can scrunch it up here if it makes it a little bit easier. Again, you don't have to keep holding it, so it's okay. Do it that half twist. We're going to go to our first finger. Okay, we're going to wrap around. Okay, so here's the big difference for this one. We're going to go again and do another loop, and again do another loop. So we're going to do 3, and we're going to do 2, and then we'll be done. So on this one, we're going to do loops more than once in each one. So again, we're just going to position so we know where our middle is at. Give it that twist, so you can even let it go. Don't have to use both hands. And we're going to go on that same finger one more time. And don't worry, it's okay if you have to use your other hand to position it. Okay? Going again. Okay, that was the 2, so we're going to go one more time. And if you want to, once you do it once or twice, if you want to make it a little bit different, you could just do 2 and then do 1 on the end. These are just your loops. So basically, the more loops you put on here, the more loops you're going to have on your bow. That's all that is. Okay, so now we have our 3 on each one. So now we're going to move on to the next finger and do that half twist. And if you need to let go again, you can let go. It's okay. Doesn't go anywhere. So if you like making bows, or if you want to start making bows, I definitely do recommend this. It's a good investment. Okay. Got our second one there. And let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay. And this is what I mentioned earlier, depending on how you'd like to do your tail. This one, you can cut it and then work your tail in, which is what I'm going to do. You can do the one tail from here and then work in another 2 tails. So depending on how many tails you'd like to make. So what I'm going to do here, just to make sure that this tail stays put, is bring my other wire from my nail down here, bring that up, and I'm going to unravel this one. We're going to go ahead and tie it so the one that was on top is coming down, the other one's going up, and we're going to give it a twist. And twist, we just want to make sure that it's all on there nice and tight. And you can let go once you do that. And then cut your tail based on how long you want it. I'm going to go a little bit shorter with this one. But again, I'm just going to do it right from here and get it dovetailed. And if you just want the one tail, then you can leave it at that. If you want to add more tails to it, measure your tail, how long you're going to want it. You're going to cut the piece of the ribbon. So now you have half and half, because we're going to basically put this right in the middle, and then we can do our dovetailing. Okay, so we're just going to scrunch, and remember this is your bottom, so this will need to be just like you would for a tail. And we're going to use that same wire to get it in place. Again, we just want to make sure it's nice and snug. So we're going to give it a couple of twists, and now we have our extra tails. Okay, and to dovetail, and you could dovetail them together if you like, or do them individually. No right or wrong way. That's another wonderful thing about crafting. It's based on preference, what you want to do that day. Do it one way one day, and the other day do it a different way. It doesn't matter. Okay, so once we're done, we can go ahead and lift our ribbon, basically our bow, because it's pretty much made. And you can position, let me move up, you can position your tails as you want them, or you can use that as your guide just to hold it and then hold your wire down. Now you can use the fluff box again. Let's see. Yes. Yes, twisting the wire. Another reason why that's done is to make sure that it stays secure. And earlier I showed adding another wire in the middle of it to kind of help with that. So you could just, instead of twisting every single turn to secure it, you could add another wire like maybe midway to kind of give it that extra support without having to do so much twisting and so much of all of that. To me, that gets a little bit too much as well. So I don't do it that way, but definitely another option. So earlier we used the fluff box. I'm gonna do it by hand, because why not? So this is what I was mentioning, that you can definitely do it by hand. I just wanted to show you that you could also do it with that fluff box, and it just makes it a little bit easier, because you know you can use both hands, but you could definitely do it one-handed, and then just still position your loops where you want them. Works the same way. Just may take a little bit more of work, but you can still pull and tug as you need to. Do a little twist. You could even let it go and do it. And then you could do some fluffing. So based on how you want to shape your bow. And just be a, what is it that that lady that I like to watch, just be the master of the ribbon, master of the bow. You tell it where you want it to go. You tell the loops where you want them to go. So basically this is it. So you just position and fluff as needed, and you can move your tails, of course, as needed. And you could do just one tail or do two. Doesn't have to be, you know, a whole lot. But that's another method of doing just another quick bow, and just using the one roll. But again, you can do more. This is also a 10-yard roll, and it's 2.5. But you could do that with the 1 inch, the 1.5 inch, mix and match. You could even do the mix and match, excuse me, the 1 inch or the 1.5 with the 2. There's really no end to that. Just mix and match as you go. Mix the styles, the colors, the patterns, the size of the ribbon. I'm gonna go ahead and change the, just so we can chat. And I'll bring this back out to, so we can see what we've made. So just a couple of ribbons. I know we had not done bows in a while. It had been a little bit since I've done them, so wanted to make sure I keep the keep the variety going. So just two quick bows here with different type of ribbons. This one is a, let me put this one up so you can still see it. It's a linen ribbon, linen type ribbon, but it's still wired. So, and I mentioned we can do still with the red one. So if you want to do another one, we could do another one. I don't mind. So we can watch that again for that smaller one. And just fluff it by hand. You don't have to have the fluff box. It just comes in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition everything again so we can do another bow, another quick red bow. Just like we did this smaller blue one. Because I did say I was going to do that, didn't I? My brain is a little cuckoo today. I'm cuckoo in the head. Just all over the place. We had for where I work, we were doing a volunteer appreciation event today. I'm actually a volunteer manager for the hospice that I work at. And there was they had said there was going to be a lot of rain today and all sorts of things going on. Well, we're going to be doing it outdoors because, you know, COVID, you want to consider certain things and all of that. So we just did a little quick gathering. But I tell you what, we enjoyed it. It was nice to see everybody. We had not seen each other in so long. Everything had been by phone. And I mean, we did some virtual things and all of that, but it's just not the same. No es lo mismo. So anyways, enough about work. So again, we're going to gather. I'm going to try to do it a little bit here on this front view so we can hopefully see that. I just normally gather maybe about a half inch, maybe an inch, like so. For the first bow, we did 3 rolls, and it's this kind of roll. It's I was trying to remember what they call this. It's not a canvas, and it's not linen. It's very thick ribbon, and it's like plastic. But yes, I did use 3 for the first one, but I'll show you all 3. You don't use it all. So you could really make probably about 3. I know with the other ones that I've made, depending on how big you go, if you want to go bigger, you could the bigger you go, of course, the less you'll be able to make. But you should be able to make 2 to 3, if not more, based on the size of your bow. But I still have a whole lot of the rolls, even though I used 3. So don't let that scare you. Try it out. I did use 3, but you could definitely make a lot more bows with it and still use, or make 1 bow and still use the rest of it for, you know, a wreath or a swag. So it's definitely worth it. And then you can mix and match. Doesn't have to be the same exact ribbon. So just putting my wire on and just making sure it's nice and snug. And that is it. Okay, so I'm going to change that view again, and we're going to, okay, here we go. So you can, we're going to just grab, we have one half of the wire going up and the other one going down. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and just grab it kind of like a loop. You're gonna go towards that one in the middle, and you're gonna just make sure that it wraps around the main finger, but you're gonna have about halfway down or halfway up, depending on how you look at it, but be like right at the middle of this main one. Okay, and you can pinch it there if that makes it easier for wrapping the wire around. Whatever makes it easier for you. There's really no specific way. I do recommend wrapping it right on top because it makes it easier for when you have to unravel it later when you're done. And then that end, I don't know if you can see that there, that end I normally just twist it up and kind of fold it on the top of that, so that way you could easily grab it and go around. This other one going down, you're going to wrap it around that nail that's down here. Just go around once, and then you just grab it and tuck it under. And that is it. You don't have to hold it and do anything else with it. And then from there you just work on your bow. So we always will start. You can go sideways and scrunch it and then do your twist. See, just use one hand. Or you can hold it and then wrap it around that first finger. And you don't have to pull on it, leave it nice and loose. That's okay. Do the same thing. That middle twist, that half twist, and go to the next finger. Now we're going to go ahead and do 3, so we still have to do it 2 more times. And it's okay if you have to scrunch them down. Okay, that's our 2, so we have 1 more. So we want to do 3 in the first one. Now you can, as you do this more, if you want to do 2 more in the middle so that you can have 3 and maybe have more loops, you can do that. Again, there's no wrong way. It depends on how big you want your bow to be. Okay, and this is our 3rd loop here. So we're going to move on to the next finger. Again, we're just kind of scrunching here and do that half twist. And then wrap it on that other and just pull. Scrunch, half twist, and drop. So 1 more on each one, as we did our 3. Now we're going to do 2. Okay, do that half a twist, keeping everything right in the middle. Okay, and this is where we would decide, do we want that tail or we don't want that tail? And then remember, this is your bottom, so with this being your bottom, you would have to do that twist to make sure that it's facing in the right direction. Or make sure you give it a twist at the end. Okay, bringing my wire up from that little nail. And now I can find that little piece that I twisted on top. Makes it easier for just grabbing it and untwisting. Make sure we do the opposite direction of when we first put it on there. And we just pull and twist. And that is it. So now we got to decide again if we want the 3. If we want them to match. And how long we want it. Okay. And you can measure it against that same tail that was just cut, so that way they'll be even if you want them even, or if you want the middle one to be longer than the others or shorter, you could make that decision at that time. Because there's so many ways that you can do a bow. I'm gonna go ahead and dovetail both at the same time. We call that lean. Making sure we do a process in less steps. Okay, and I'm just gonna find my middle and do some scrunching so we can go ahead and get it on there tightly. Don't forget, while you're here, if you're watching for the first time, to do a thumbs up and subscribe. Share the link with friends and family so they can also learn about making bows and learning about all the tutorials that we have on the channel. Okay, so now we have our tail. So now from here we can go ahead and just lift our bow, and we're back where we were with the blue bow. You can hold your tails just to have that as your holding point, and then we can shape the tails later. Your wire is right here on the bottom, and again we can shape by hand or use the fluff box. So You could do it right from here, one at a time. And because we have that wire, we can let it go. And you can just move the loops around however you think you may want them. And then you can shape them up. So you could do it a variety of ways. So it doesn't have to be shaped at the same time that you're moving your loops, but you definitely can. Don't let the ribbon scare you. Master it. Okay, and then find your tails so you know where your center is at. Let me turn it around so it could actually be facing you. Okay, and then just position your loops where you want them. Move the tails. Let me grab my wire, I just lost one. Okay, and to shape the tails, you could just run your finger under it and just kind of, that'll shape your tails. So that's pretty much it. Quick and easy. And this is where I can kind of go overboard because I just keep on fluffing just because. So like, okay, I want this here, I want that there. But you really don't have to go too crazy. That's just me. I'm cuckoo like that. But there's another bow with some long tails. Semi-long. They're not too long. Okay. So I'm going to position these so that you can see them all. And let's see. The loops get smaller as they go to the center. No, I guess they could, based on your ribbon and how many loops you're doing, but not necessarily so. Let me move this up some more so you can see that one. They're basically slightly smaller, but they're not too much smaller. So they go a little bit smaller because of the position of the fingers that are here. If you can see, it's kind of curved. So in a way, it is a little bit smaller for the very middle one, the first one, because that's kind of to kind of draw more attention to that center. And then these kind of come back a little bit more out, and then these go a little bit more out. So it gets, I guess in a way it is smaller, but they get bigger as you move along because of the curve. But as you're doing it, you're not having to do anything different to make it smaller, which is another reason why I like using this tool for the bows. It kind of limits you don't have to be thinking and calculating. It pretty much, as long as you have your fingers in the right position for the size of bow that you want, it takes care of it all. But no, they're not all the same size. There can be the same size if we do like on the blue and the red one that we did when we did 3 loops in the same finger. Then that will be exactly the same size because we're using the same finger. Does that make sense? I'll put one for the link. I'll put one on the video after we're done with the video. I'll go ahead and put one on there. But you could also do a search. I don't have a what do they call that? The affiliate link for it. But I can definitely send you the link for her website where she sells them. Or you could do a Google search for Pro Bow the Hand and it'll show on there. She's got a whole bunch of different ones. I just happened to get the huge one because I wanted to not have any limits as to what size bow to make. But I'll go ahead and add that on to the bottom of the video after we're done with the tutorial with the live. I'll go ahead and look it up and I'll add her link on there because she's an amazing lady. But this is it, y'all. This was fun. I haven't done bows in a while on YouTube as a live tutorial. Yes. Okay, so I will definitely do that. And I'm glad that answered the question. Let me know, because I know my Spanglish kicks in too sometimes. But I hope you like this. I hope you like the bows. I love making bows. I haven't made them in a while. Just strictly do bows from like, you know, one to the next to the next to the next. Usually I just make the bows when I'm making a wreath or a swag or, you know, doing a garland or something. So but it's definitely fun to make it, making a, different bowls all up, one after the other. I forgot how fun that can be. So you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and watching today. And again, for the reviews, I'm so glad you love the signs. I can't wait. Hopefully I get to see what you're making. Please do share some pictures. Do the tag me on social media or something so I can see them. But we'll go ahead. I'm gonna stick to the patriotic theme for next week. I believe I'm thinking of making a swag for the mailbox. I haven't done one of those in quite some time either. So I'm kind of bringing back some things just to make sure we keep things fresh and do different things. I don't like continuing to make the same stuff over and over and over. So I like the variety. So if there's anything you like to see being done and made here on our channel, let me know. You could send me an email. I always, you could do an email. You could put a comment on one of the tutorial videos, whichever way you can reach out to me. Facebook, whatever the case may be. If you follow us on social media, so just let me know if there's anything you're interested in knowing how to make or how to do, or if you just want to see something on video and just see what tips I might have. You may already know how to do it, but just want to see how I do it, just to see if there's anything different that you could do or use to make the process easier, because I like sharing tips. so that's one of my things. Just want to make sure I share things to make things easier, better, maybe hopefully save you a little bit of dough, as I like to say. Save some dough, a little bit of money. Especially if you're going to be doing these as, whether you're doing it as gift things or for a side business and all that. So let me know. So if no other questions, I will let you go for now. Hopefully you get to join us again next week, Friday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we'll be working on a swag next week. I actually already have, so I'll be bad. I'll share just to kind of give you a tip here. We're going to have some border stripe mesh that we're going to be using. Of course, we got to have the red, because red, white, blue, patriotic. So, and of course some other wonderful ribbons. But stay tuned. Until next time, please do stay safe. Let me go ahead and change the view again. Stay safe out there, and let us know again if any questions or anything, and we'll see you again next time on Friday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You take care. Bye-bye. Stay liquid.